Welcome back to part 3 of our interview with Matt Miller, where he tells us the 2 secrets to running a successful franchise, as well as why you need someone, much like a coach, to keep you accountable. Don't go anywhere, because part 3 is coming at you.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performance Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. Franchising. You know, this is an area that intrigues so many entrepreneurs. Why the franchising model? How did you get there? How'd you learn how to do it? Bring us through that.
I'll never forget when I had started my vending business. I don't know if you ever saw the Donnie Deutsch Big Idea show.
Oh, yeah. Loved it.
CNN.
Yeah.
Well, Donnie had, I watched it religiously whenever it came out. He had a guest on who was the founder of Coinstar, the company that has the coin machines in grocery stores. They also started the Redbox DVD machines. I don't know if they still own that or not. But anyway, I'll never forget him coming on the show. The guy was decked out to the nines, suit, cufflinks, tie, all that stuff. And this is my speculation. I don't know the guy, and I've never read anything on him since. This was just what came to my mind when I saw the interview. That guy probably works 90 hours a week. His business owns him. And even though he's got a $100 million company, I think it was at the time, I don't want anything about what he's got, because I want time, and control over my time is what I'm really all about, not the money and all the trappings of it. So at that point, I decided that I didn't want to have hundreds of employees and have to be responsible for them, etc. I wanted to find owners, because I knew owners would take better care of things. They would produce less headaches and hassles, which would mean I would have more control over my life as business grew. And yes, I would not make as much money, but I was willing to play the long game, not the short game, and knew that if I served enough other people and helped enough other people get what they wanted, I would get taken care of, like Zig Ziglar talked about in one of his quotes. So I intentionally decided then, and initially we started with a distributorship model, where we would teach people what we do and set them up in a distributorship, and we had a royalty that we got paid based on their revenues. About 3 years ago, my coach pulled me aside one day, and he said, "You know what, Matt, I've been doing some research. Do you have any idea how many schools there are out there?" Now, I'm excited in the last 7.5 years, Matt, what you've done, but there are, I don't remember how many thousands of schools there are out there that he said. And the reason that you're not doing business with them yet is because they don't know who you are. So if it was me, I would get busy figuring out how to let them know who you are. Well, that got me thinking. I started looking into how to grow our team and market our idea to find others of like mind. And along the way, I reached out to my attorney just to find out what my options were, because I knew that I needed to have some more revenue coming in to be able to take a more direct approach to marketing and growing our team. And he came back to me after a couple of weeks and said, Matt, you need to be a franchise, especially if you want to be growing in the Northeast and California and much of the Midwest, where the bureaucracies and the government laws, et cetera, surrounding business and business opportunities are much more strict than they are in the South. Well, I wasn't planning on that. That wasn't even on my radar, Thor. So here I am being told this is what you need to do. And oh, by the way, to do it, it's going to cost 30 or 40 grand just for the legal fees and everything you need to do get started. But we figured it out, and I hired a franchise attorney that was recommended to me. He stepped me through the process. I read several books on franchising. The first one I ever read was Grinding It Out, the autobiography of Ray Kroc, and that was something I had read 15 years ago or so. But anyway, I just got myself educated, and just like I talked about earlier, be willing to jump in and figure it out. That's exactly what we did with the franchise. And so several months later, July actually of 2015, so a little over 2 years ago, our franchise disclosure documents were finalized. Our registrations in the states where we wanted to begin franchising were completed, and we were off to the races. Our very first franchisees ended up being somebody that literally sat 2 pews behind me in church that we had never talked about business before, but they saw a Facebook video that I posted. I was hoping to get people back home in Illinois where I grew up excited and start growing there. Little did I know it was going to be some people that we were acquaintances with that were looking to retire and saw this as a way to do so. And since that point, we've added 66 or 67 franchisees in the last 2 years. We are absolutely growing like a weed. And man, it's been a total blessing. But 3 years ago, Thor, I had no clue what I was doing, and this was not even on our radar.
So if I could recap, what you did that you would do again is find a great attorney that can draft everything for you. Were there any other decisions or things that you did that led to the success? That if somebody's listening and say, hey, I want to start a franchise, these are the 3 things I need to do.
2 things. First off, getting back to our checklist conversation, I was already systematizing what I was doing, not realizing that ultimately that was going to lead to ease in transitioning to a franchise. So I already had the system that could be duplicated that was in place. That's number 1. Number 2, you have got to get your hands dirty and prove that you have a successful and profitable business model. It doesn't matter how great an idea it is. If you're not making money hand over fist doing what you're doing, you're not going to be able to convince anybody to buy in to this idea of them doing what you do. So you got to get into the game. And so I had 110 schools by the time I started franchising. I had proven the model myself. And then, of course, we had about 40 families that we were working with as distributors at the time, most of which transitioned to becoming franchisees once we made that shift. But, there was person after person after person that I could point to and that these prospects could talk to find out that, yes, this is real. Yes, this is very, very profitable, and who had nothing but good things to say about it.
And what are some of the things that you learned that you wish you had done differently had you do it, if you did it all over again?
Yeah, I wish I was more capitalized, just because there are some things that we've, had to put in place slowly over time that would have been nice to have on the front end. But literally I was, bootstrapping that transition, and it was rough there for a while. So I think that would be one of the biggest things. Another thing is I would have figured out a little bit earlier a multi-pronged approach to promoting what we're doing versus just one. I've spent a lot of time doing what you and I are doing right now, and the majority of our team, aside from referrals, has come from people hearing interviews like this one and being intrigued about what we do and reaching out. And of course, the rest is history. We don't do a whole lot of Facebook ads. We don't do any pay-per-click. We don't do any of that stuff. And whereas those things are a lot less personal, and there's a lot more educating on the front end to make sure that people are viable prospects from those avenues, we would have a little bit more control over our pipeline and the speed that people get involved or reach out, and also, more importantly, more focused and targeted messaging, because you and I have no clue who's going to listen to this interview and where they're located. And, with some of these other things I mentioned, you can be a lot more targeted. And if you want to grow in the state of New York, as an example, can focus a lot of energy, effort, and resources, towards promoting in New York and driving business in New York instead of just taking leads wherever they come. Because as our territories fill out, the model that worked 2 years ago is not as efficient and effective anymore because a lot of our territory is gone.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. What were some of the big costs in the beginning that you said you wish you were better funded for?
It just simple things like putting more systems in place, technology in place, those types of things. People don't realize how expensive just a lot of basic stuff is, from maintaining a website, to a lot of the things that we've built over time in support of our team, to a lot of the things we've built over time in support of promoting what we do to schools around the country. All of those things, take money and take resources, and we've kind of built this thing on a shoestring. We've gotten to where we've built things out, pretty close to where we want them to be, but it's been a process, and we could have better served our people if we had some more resources at the beginning to do some of those things.
As leaders, there's always things that we could do better than we're currently doing them. So if I asked you the question, Matt, what's one thing as a leader you could do better?
I need to do a better job of being able to empathize with people and being able to take time to develop deeper relationships. I'm not wired that way. I'm not relational. In fact, I'm an introvert. And so I would prefer to spend most of my time to myself and my family. And that goes directly against what is really required in the role that I have developed for myself over the years. So, doing a better job of just staying in tune with what's going on and the needs of the team, I think is something that I could definitely do a better job of and am striving to do better every day.
What's some of the best advice you've been given in business?
To dream bigger. 3 years ago, when my coach Aaron and I had that first conversation, I was bored out of my mind. I was taking naps every day. I had no purpose or direction. And he was the one that basically called me out, because my dream for years had been to walk away from my corporate career and work for myself. And I accomplished that. But I failed to reset some new goals and dreams, and in the process stagnated there for a while, and our business stagnated because of it. And so the minute that he got me focused and got me to see that I needed to reset in order to continue to move forward, that made a huge impact for me and everybody that, we have responsibility and have worked with and for within our business.
And how was he able to do that?
Just by calling me out on some things. I can't overemphasize the value of a coach. Athletes have them, CEOs of major companies in many cases have them, but most of us don't. And that's one of the biggest mistakes I think that our society has made is, all that is only reserved for the people that are in a certain strata that we perceive of anyway in our society. And in the process, most of us don't become what we can truly become because we don't have anybody outside our lives that are focused on what we do and are speaking into our lives and helping us see things from a different perspective. And by him being hard when he needed to be hard and supportive when he needed to be supportive, he helped me see the world from a different perspective. And with 36 years of business experience, having bought and sold 8+ businesses during that time, multi-millionaire, I was able to see things from his world instead of from my very limited business world as a former Air Force and ad executive. And that's made all the difference.
Yeah, it really does help. Everyone, as you say, needs someone from the outside to look in. A matter of fact, tomorrow I have a client that is extremely successful executive. And we were talking about a little bit about his personal life and what he needed to add in order to just be a better man tomorrow than he is today. And he said, you know what, I really got to get back to the gym. And we went through his schedule of what he's doing. I'm like, morning's not going to work. He's a big family guy. He's working until 7 o'clock at night. I said, for at least for the next 3 months, night's not going to work. I said, we need to do this during the day. He goes, well, I gotta work during the day. I said, well, you got 45 minutes. You eat lunch? He said, yeah. I said, here's what's going to happen. And he actually has a gym in his office. I said, Wednesday, I'm showing up. I'm not wearing a suit. I'm wearing my gym clothes. And I'm going to walk you through a 45-minute exercise where we exercise. You don't have enough time to take a shower. And I promise you 2 things. One is you're going to know what's possible. And 2, you're going to be exhausted. But there'll never be another excuse that you don't have time to do it, because there's always time. And I'm not just going to tell you. I'm going to get in there, and we're going to sweat together. I'm going to show you.
That's funny you say that, Thor, because I hired a personal trainer here about 1.5 years ago for that very reason for myself. Now, I didn't have time or didn't want to go to the gym. I hired a guy by the name of Jeff McMahon, who is a virtual trainer. He does virtual training for a lot of the big names in the podcasting and social media space. I was actually introduced to him by Pat Flynn. And anyway, I told him when we first talked and I did my initial assessment, I said, here's the deal, Jeff. I said, I'm not going to the gym. And I don't have any weights or anything here. I need to be able to do all this in my office, because if it's not convenient, I won't make time for it. I know myself too well.
Yeah.
And so he put together a workout for me, and we work out virtually over Zoom or over FaceTime 3 times a week. And then he sends me workouts 2 other days a week. And it has been a complete and total game changer for me, because he put something together that worked for me. And then he provides accountability on a weekly basis to make sure that I'm not getting lazy.
Yeah, that accountability. We have a complete division just dedicated to accountability. And it's something I thought we would never go into. I mean, why would somebody want us to really come? Because we come down pretty hard. I mean, we'll hold your hand and we're compassionate. But if you say you're going to do something, we're going to hold you to it. Similar to a drill sergeant, I guess. But it's interesting, we all need that. We need someone who's going to call us out if we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, and then celebrate with us during the wins, too. So it's got to fit around your schedule, but we all need it. So well done. We could go on for hours and hours, but would you tell the audience how they can get in touch with you and a little bit more?
So I wrote an eBook, Thor, called Live Your Dreams, the Top 10 Reasons Why You Need to Own a Vending Business. And we set up a landing page just for your audience. For anybody who's interested, they can download that for free. They can go to ssvbusiness.com/peak, P-E-A-K, and download that. If nothing else, it'll give them some basics about vending and how it might be the perfect side gig or hustle for them on top of their corporate career. Otherwise, if they want to talk about the franchise, we can begin a dialogue there as well and see if that's a good fit. Anything that we can do to help, would love to do so. And I know most people don't think about vending as a real business, but to give you an idea and to put it in perspective, we've sold over 20 million stickers and raised over $5 million for education in the last decade. And we're just getting started.
That is absolutely amazing. Well done. Good for you, good for the franchisee, and good for the schools. Love it. Matt, thanks for being on today, and we look forward to having you back.
Hey, Thor, thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much for listening today. I really do appreciate your time, and I hope you found today's show valuable. If you would like to receive these shows automatically to your phone or to your computer, simply go to iTunes and subscribe. After listening to several of the shows, if you're so inclined, please leave us a 5-star rating, as this helps us reach additional people and spread the message. If you're truly committed to taking your life to the next level and doing whatever it takes to become a peak performer, but something's holding you back, something is blocking your way, and you just can't seem to figure out what it is, send me an email to info@thorconklin.com. and I'd be more than happy to get on the phone with you. We'll schedule a 15-minute discovery call. No obligation, no cost. I absolutely love to hear from the listeners, and if there's something I can do to help, I'd be more than happy to do that. Also, if you found something of great interest in today's show and you want to share that with your friends and family, simply go to my Facebook page, Thor Conklin, click on the episode, hit the share button, and share it on your page. You can follow me at Twitter at Thor Conklin. The website is thorconklin.com. We're constantly adding new free resources, discussing additional tricks, tips, tools, and strategies on how to be a peak performer. Remember, I try to keep these episodes short so you can listen to them during dot time, doing other things, commuting, driving, walking, working out. Decide to be a peak performer in all that you do. And until tomorrow, have an absolutely amazing day.